for taking time to listen to EY's presentation on the impact of technology and Industry 4.0 in the financial services, logistics, and accountancy sectors. My name is Samir, and I'm a partner at EY, and I look after the ASEAN Workforce Advisory practice. Today, in our short 15 minutes, I thought we will spend a bit of time in terms of looking at how COVID-19 is impacting Singapore. But more importantly, let's look at jobs in logistics, in financial services, and accountancy. Let's look at them in terms of how technology is transforming them. I will then move into a short section around what are the common themes across this transformation, and then end with what do we think we can do as organizations to enable transformation today to emerge stronger. So let's start with COVID-19. Well, the world has never changed so fast, yet it will never change so slowly yet again. This speed of change is going to be accelerated. And in fact, COVID-19 as a mega trend is one of the biggest accelerators. More digital transformation has happened in the last 4 months than probably in the last few years. And this digital transformation is going to continue. As we go through this transformation, we have seen certain industries continue to remain strong, like consumer tech and pharma. We see certain industries beginning to transform their business models, like automotive, real estate, FMCG, food, logistics, where certain industries are reshaping in terms of oil and gas, physical retail. For some, like travel and hospitality, the future is still somewhat unknown. But when we look at these industries, we do see that the ones that have good people practices are the ones that are going to redefine and emerge stronger. We see workforce planning becoming more and more critical. We see lifelong learning becoming very critical. We see job redesign also becoming very critical across these industries. But what has also changed is the consumer. The mindset of the consumer has changed. They are now more willing to share data as long as it's going to help for a larger cause. They've changed the way that they would shop. They've changed the way the products they will buy. They obviously are going to spend more on experiences. So this change in the consumer has led to change in business models. From a talent standpoint, we've seen our best organizations kind of do 5 key things. Number one, spending more dollars and cents on learning. In fact, learning has become the new compensation dollar. Second, we've seen organizations drive a lot of strategic workforce planning, defining the quantity and quality of workforce that they may require. We've seen organizations redesign jobs, and may I say, sometimes create new jobs. We've seen organizations internalize employee engagement and well-being practices. And last but not least, we've seen a review of the total performance and reward strategy. Now let's spend a bit of time to talk about the impact of technology across 3 sectors: logistics, financial services, and accountancy. I'll start with logistics. EY recently completed a study with Economic Development Board on the impact of Industry 4.0 on the Singapore logistics workforce. We studied 56 job roles in this study across warehouse management and operations, transport management, freight forwarding, sales and customer service, logistics solutioning and program management, and last but not least, logistics process improvement and information systems. Our findings do state that 11 of the 56 job roles will experience a high degree of change in their job tasks. That means these job roles are likely going to be displaced or will require major job redesign. For those of you who want to see more about this report, please scan the QR code on the right side of my slide. Let me delve a little deeper into this study and share some key findings. The way we proceeded with this study was to first look at the Industry 4.0 technology solution and then look at Industry 4.0 technology enablers, because it's these solutions and these enablers that are going to drive a change in tasks of job roles today in the logistics workforce. So we studied 13 technology solutions and multiple technology enablers for it. Not only that, we looked at which technology enablers or which technology solutions are likely going to be scaled in Singapore in the next 2 to 5 years. Clearly, the dynamic route optimization stood out as the number one, along with optimized documentation and predictive and prescriptive fleet management. Now, all these technology solutions therefore then drive a change in job tasks, therefore then define a change in the job role that is required for the future. As a result of those technology solutions, certain tasks will have a high degree of change. Typically, those tasks would be ones that have manual, labor-intensive tasks, tasks around goods sorting, routing, and quality checks. transportation and freight route planning, scheduling and tracking of orders, customer support, and query resolution. There are certain tasks that will have a medium degree of change. For example, overseeing and configuring i4 solutions, simulation modeling, stakeholder management. Well, there will also be certain tasks that will have a low degree of change. For example, strategic planning and policy formulation, innovation management, business development, so on and so forth. So we really looked at those technology and looked at it from a task standpoint. Once we were able to identify these tasks, we knew from the skills framework for logistics what each job role does from a task standpoint. And therefore, we were able to go deeper into identifying which job roles have a higher degree of tasks which are getting impacted, and therefore they are falling under the displacement category, and which job roles require a major redesign. And on the right-hand side would be the job roles that have a low degree of change in tasks, and therefore they will change incrementally. Fairly detailed slide, but I think the details are in the report. I hope you all will get a chance to scan the QR code and look through the report. This basically defines those 11 critical job roles that are in the displacement and major redesign on the left side of this chart. Now, I4.0 is not a bad word. In fact, it's a good word. It drives productivity, it drives digital transformation. While on the previous slide, we identified the impact from a job role standpoint, at the same time, there are new jobs that are being created in the logistics sector, primarily on account of Industry 4.0. Those jobs typically exist in data analysis and management roles, in software development job roles, and in digitalization and automation job roles. So while there is those 11 job roles that require a fair amount of displacement and I'd say redesign, there are also additional job roles that are being created purely on the count of Industry 4.0 solutions in the log sector. Now, for the 11 job roles that we identified, we went a step further to say, okay, if this job role is going to be displaced, what is the potential for this job role to move to another job role which likely will not be displaced? So on this slide, I'm just showing you an example of the MHE forklift or the forklift operator or the warehousing or inventory assistant. Traditionally, I mean, this job role can move up a couple levels up the career ladder to become the warehouse supervisor and inventory or quality control supervisor. It can also move into a new Industry 4.0 job role, which is the I4.0 maintenance specialist or the ASRS operator or the drone operator in this example. For it to be able to make these switches, it would need to imbibe new skills. It would need to look at the emerging skills of digital acumen, around problem solving, around data interpretation and analysis. So job mobility, first start was a task-based analysis based on technology solutions to identify the change in tasks. Once we identified the job roles and the level of displacement, we then went through what are the new job roles being created, and then went through a skills-based analysis to say which is the closest job role that this displaced job role can go to. So really, we're trying to help safeguard employment and employability of workers in roles that will undergo displacement or be redesigned. I'll now switch from logistics and make a quick transition into financial services, right? Again, this is a study that EY ran with Institute of Banking and Finance, where we studied the impact of data analytics, artificial intelligence across 121 job roles in the financial services sector. It covered banking and capital markets, asset management, insurance, and enterprise-wide functions. An outcome of this study, 40 job roles were identified to have a high impact of data analytics, automation, and AI. 22 of these high impact job roles were in the banking and capital markets, 10 were in asset management, 5 in insurance, and 3 in enterprise-wide functions. Now, a further detail, some examples of this, out of the 40 job roles, some examples of those that are in the displacement or the convergence side include job roles like policy servicing officers, include branch teller and operations, include fund management assistants, and trader of liquid assets, right? And on the rightmost extreme, the ones which have low impact or those which will be only complemented through data analytics and automation include the roles of structurer, coverage officer, underwriter, which is in the non-retail standpoint. Further details on the based on the findings from industry leaders show banking and capital markets will continue to redefine the customer experience, leveraging artificial intelligence and advanced analytics, and therefore the skills implications on automation management, technology troubleshooting, data interpretation and analysis becoming more and more relevant. Asset management going to continuously focus on process improvement, therefore process excellence, project management, complex problem solving becoming skills which are becoming more relevant and important. And for insurance, data analytics is driving a fundamental change in the way data is being used to from insurers, particularly the actuaries and underwriters. And therefore, the skills around data interpretation, analysis, stakeholder engagement, and storytelling is becoming more and more critical. Uh, an example of this entire, if I just take the example of retail banking, of the entire 121 job roles from a retail banking standpoint, a subset of that, certain job roles do exist in the high impact zone, for example, the customer service or the contact center reps, or in the middle office, like the business assurance officer sits in the high impact zone, and certain other job roles sit in the medium impact zone. For each of these, we've identified the skills differentiators. For example, just purely on the customer service standpoint, technology troubleshooting or data interpretation and analysis will sit at one of those skills differentiators up there. If you do get a chance to download the report, a very similar analysis to what we did in logistics, where we defined it from a task-based level. Here's an example of a product analyst. We defined the tasks the product analyst was doing today and looked at it from the standpoint of what the task the product analyst will be doing in the future, and identified critical skills differentiators like data storytelling, customer mindset, stakeholder engagement, influencing, and negotiation that will allow this product analyst to excel in his or her job in the future. And similar to the logs where we looked at the creation of new jobs, we looked at it from the standpoint of what a job today would be versus what a job tomorrow would be. For example, a branch teller combined with a customer service officer combined with a relationship manager could be a new job in the future of a digital ambassador in financial services, right? So now I'll move to the third study. I'm doing this fairly rapidly, and I hope you are finding some value in the sectors. The third study is a study that EY did with ISCA, along with SUTD, the Lee Kuan Yew Center of Innovative Cities, and EY, where we studied 11 job roles in financial accounting and management accounting. And at the end of that study, we found 2 job roles that will have a high degree of change in their tasks. The job roles are the junior-most job roles in the skills framework for accountancy. They're the accounts executive and the accounting executive. A very similar process we followed in this, where we looked at digital enablers. We looked at the enablers of RPA, blockchain, advanced analytics, big data, and artificial intelligence, and looked at it from the standpoint of which job roles are going to be displaced, which job roles will require redesign, and which job roles will change incrementally, right? The output of this study, again, looks at, I mentioned earlier, the 2 job roles which are high impact, but there are 5 job roles that sit in the medium impact zone that will require redesign, and the rightmost is job roles that will change incrementally, that will use technology to produce outcomes for the future as well. A very similar approach to the study. We looked at it from a task-based standpoint, and here's an example of the accounts executive, where both of the key tasks around processing business transactions for reports or performing financial accounting and corporate reporting activities are highly impacted by RPA, blockchain, and data analytics, and therefore this job role will likely undergo significant exposure to automation and will undergo displacement. In sync with that, we were able to identify what are the skills this accounts executive has, and therefore if this accounts executive is to transition to any of the other roles, what are the skills which are portable and therefore allow for job mobility across for this role. So, okay, I've spoken fairly rapidly on 3 different sectors, but let me share with you what are some of the common themes across these sectors. These sectors are very varied, but the impact reports do have some common themes. The common themes is some of the junior roles have a high degree of displacement due to technology. We've seen more and more reasons for education to be at a higher level to allow workforce to pick on larger roles. Therefore, learning is the new dollars. SMEs often find it difficult to implement new technologies, and therefore there is a need to ensure that there's a quick return on investment on new technologies. A future workforce requires a lifelong learning mindset and multidisciplinary skills. And last but not least, organizations need to find ecosystems of collaboration to be successful. Now, last 2 themes, and I probably have just a minute to share this, is so what can organizations do? We believe in starting with the end in mind. The first step for any organization to do is to do a detailed workforce planning, define the quality and quantity of workforce that you may require, and also solutionize this. So not only spend time on the supply side solutions, that means improving the employee experience, improving the career experience or learning and development, but to also focus on demand side solutions, which is on technology transformation, business transformation, as well as redesign of jobs. Redesign of jobs is basically changing tasks in a way that the jobs need to be performed so that they're relevant for the future. We always say this to all our clients. If you redesign the job, you will save the job from displacement or convergence. And last but not least, a step towards upskilling the workforce includes starting with identifying competencies, developing and diagnosing what the individual learning needs are, and then designing and curating learning programs. Learning is the new dollars in employee value proposition. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself, Samir, or my fellow partner, Jayong. Happy learning. Thank you.